You say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jeff. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. We are back for another book club presented by the D-Gen Roundtable. Today we are talking about The Way of the Wolf. This is famously the book that Jordan Belfort wrote about his straight line persuasion and salesmanship course. Notably, he was portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, where I don't think Leo got an Academy Award for that one, even though it was a very good performance, I gotta say. Anyways, that being said, there will not be any prostitutes, quaaludes, or other illicit substances on this stream tonight, and there's not in that book anyway, so you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Joining me as always, we have some of the usual suspects. First off, we have my co-host, Will Stevenson. How you doing, man?
Well, aloha, everybody. Will Stevenson here, your local Hex Meetup enthusiast and book reader extraordinaire. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Chilling. It's been a busy week for all of us, I think. I know I hopped on a podcast with Sam yesterday, and that was actually his second podcast of the day on top of all the other stuff he does. And then, I think we were close to streaming close to every day this week. We're not, I don't know, it wasn't an official DRT stream yesterday, but everyone has been very busy. We are working hard as always, and we're trying to make as much content and the best content that we can for you lovely people out there.
Hell yeah. Bro, I've been getting fucking carpal tunnel from typing so many comments in on all these different live streams and chats between you and my brother and all the DGen Roundtable stuff that I'm doing and not doing. But hell yeah. Speaking of my brother, hey, look, it's my brother.
It's me,
What's going on, Sam?
brother, and I have a voice. It has been fixed, so I can speak.
Beautiful. I
all.
was going to ask you about that. Did you have a special remedy, or just a good night of sleep will do the trick?
Yes, actually, I did have a very special remedy. I went to sleep and then woke up.
That is I don't know. That's a pretty magical remedy right there. I hear it does a lot of good for a lot of different ailments.
Yes.
Jesus
I don't
Christ.
think it does good for, like, if you lose a limb, but yay, I didn't, so.
Man, we're
Perfect.
just,
By the way,
we're just chock-a-block full of advice today. Get some sleep, everybody. Hey, also, while you're at it, drink some water, and I don't know, wear a smile as often as you can. You're listening to the DGen Roundtable.
This is the best advice that we can possibly give you, and it's not even financial advice, so we don't have to do that disclaimer. Excellent.
That's right.
Speaking of which, Sam, what podcasts were we doing yesterday?
Yes, we were doing the Samuel Stevenson podcast. It's been named after myself because that is the easiest thing to do. And basically, we just talked a lot about how cool this guy Zenith is and all the crazy experiences he's had in the Coast Guard, dealing with research and engines and corrosion and hulls smashing into waves and you name it. I mean, this guy's lived. So go check it out on the Samuel
I will
Stevenson
admit,
podcast.
I got a little bit technical, but I hope I didn't go too far down any specific rabbit hole and lose people. But overall, it was a great time hanging out and chatting.
It was, yes. And it's a shame if things don't get too technical. I like when things get technical. So
I like technical as well. I find that the more specific you can be in life, the better off you're typically going to be.
that's true. Unless you're dealing with a woman, maybe. But
Maybe not. Speaking of women, we have Mrs. Producer in the house, Mrs. McGettit. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a
Excellent.
little bit of a long week. The little guy, my 4-year-old, our 4-year-old here is losing his first baby teeth already, which is totally not cool because, he's only 4 years old. It's really just not fair. And he's got a big one growing in. So that's been difficult. He was being really difficult for like week or two, and we couldn't figure out why. And then I saw the tooth poking through, and I'm like, that's why. He was really difficult when he teethed the first time too. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I don't know how fast he's gonna get them, but we'll see.
Dude, yeah, I was gonna say that sounds pretty quick. You said the first teeth. No, it's not first teeth coming in, but first losing the first teeth.
Yep, he lost his first baby tooth, and he's got an adult tooth. It's poking. I think it's all the way through the gums now, so it's not causing him any pain anymore. It's just growing. And his second baby tooth is also loose. It's right next to where the first one fell out. So I think it's just making room for the one coming in. So far, I don't see a second adult tooth, but you never know. He was born with a tooth basically ready to come out almost. So he got his first teeth, his baby teeth, all before he was 1 year old.
Dang, that sounds pretty quick, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, and it was brutal. He refused any teething rings. So, it was really difficult.
Perfect. Alrighty. Well, with that said, let's get on to it a little bit. The first thing I want to do is throw the question around to the table and ask you guys, what was your favorite concept or chapter in the book talking about the straight line selling method or persuasion method, if you want to call it that? Will, what you got?
What was our favorite?
Yeah, or the one that impacted you the most.
Of you specifically the method, not just the entire book.
Favorite part of the entire book. Let's go with that.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure if it's part of like the straight line sales method, dude, but like sales method technique, but the part in the book where he was talking about, and I had mentioned this earlier to Sam, we were on a phone call the other day, but the thing that I loved the best from the book was where he talks about like you have the power to control the things that you think about because you can choose like, hey, I'm going to think about this thing. Like I'm going to think about monkeys, or I'm going to think about, crying children, or I'm going to think about the fucking cool coins that we find or something like that. Right. You can choose what you think about. And like on that, principle, you can essentially decide if you're going to be happy, or you can decide if you're going to be sad. If you just like focus hard enough and you just choose, you choose enough of the right things in the right places. If you think about sad things, you're going to be depressed. If you think about happy things, you're going to be happy. If you like curate your world and you curate your mind, you can essentially just hack yourself out of like emotional ups and downs and things. So that was my favorite part of the whole book. Not necessarily even like the selling stuff, was just the fact that he touched on like you can essentially sell yourself to yourself. You can sell a better mood to yourself, So that was my favorite part of the book. I even wrote it down somewhere, but I can't find it.
Yeah, that was an interesting chapter. I want to say that one was called the state management and the formula for state management. Basically, He was talking about how back when he was working at Stratton Oakmont, the stockbroker company, you would see these kids that had terrible social skills coming in, and then like 3 to 4 months later, they look like they know exactly what they're doing and are walking on top of the world, even though they may not even be rolling in money yet. But it's just that kind of like, I guess you could call it like a little bit of self-hypnosis, but just like seeing the future that you want to happen and then just believing that you're already there. So you start acting like you have that success.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, it's the best. But anyways, that's my answer. Let's get on to the rest of the panel. Also, real quick, I want to do a quick shout out to the folks in the chat, if you don't mind, Zenith, before we get too far into the weeds. Shout out
Absolutely.
to Fast Abdul, Centurion, Mr. Angry Twinkie, and Agent J as well. Fast Abdul apparently can't read, so hopefully we'll read enough that you won't have to, because we can just tell you all the things that we read about, and then you can absorb it via osmosis or just stick it around long enough. And same thing with Mr. Angry Twinkie. He can't read. He's unliterate. I'm disliterate. I'm anti-literate. I'm against literature. 100%. I listen to the audiobooks. So where's Leo and Jonah Hill? I don't know. They're off away on their movie sets somewhere doing movie things. But anyways, enough of that. We've shouted out the chat. You guys have got your little dose of attention. Good for you. Sam, what was your favorite part of the book?
Well, okay, so I would have to break down and say that the concept of the straight line method and how you can follow a particular fixed set of concepts and have a almost guaranteed result based on obviously it's not super easy and it's not like the same sell every time, but if you follow the same general principles, you're going to either get the sale or not. Like it's going to be very clear. There's no wasted time. So I loved that. I also was very fascinated specifically about the difference between the technical selling and the emotional selling, and how you when you're initially getting someone on board, you're giving them the information they're going to want about the product, and the deeper you get into the sale, the more you basically start figuring out what is it that like gets them going, how are you going to get in their head emotionally and convince them that the thing they should like that they should buy the thing and get them to emotionally commit. And one of the tricks in there that just it stuck with me that I use every now and then is the pace lead trick, where you want to, if you're trying to get on someone's level and get them to like change their emotional state, you pace them at their emotional state that they're currently at first and join them there, and then slowly transition your tone and your emotional state into where you want to go. And it's going to likely to redirect their ability, as opposed to just like confronting it, right? So I thought that was a cool trick. But I loved a lot of stuff about the book.
For sure, the pacing and the intensity one is an interesting concept. It's something that I think like sparring partners are pretty familiar with if you do any sort of like martial arts and whatnot. It's the idea of matching intensity. It's like, all right, we're practicing, we're not trying to knock each other out, and at the same time, we can still bring some heat, but we don't have to be trying to kill each other. And then you just, wherever your partner's at, you just match them. You just match where you're at, and that's a good way to go through it. It's a concept that's pretty applicable to a lot of other areas, but when they talk about it in the book, the idea of that you match the pacing or the intensity, so that way you can kind of like gain control and then kind of push it along to where you want to go. That was an interesting point for sure. Alrighty, we got one left. Mrs. Producer, what do you have for us?
I think, I'll be honest, I didn't get to the end of the book. I got close to the end, but not quite all the way there. And one of the things that stuck up to me was, and I think it's kind of what you guys are already talking about, but the tonality that he was talking about, to come into something like he was talking about cold calling, basically telemarketing. And when you call somebody, you don't just start it off with that unfamiliar type of vibe going on right away. I guess vibe is the best word I can think of right now. But, he's like, hey, say, instead of saying, is John something there? You say, hey, John. You know what I mean? That was one thing that really stuck out to me. I've worked 2 different sales jobs that were both over the phone. One of them was telemarketing, and the other one was answering phone calls for people buying off of like a magazine. And then we had to try and get them to buy more. And in both of those, that was one thing that they really talked about. And I got a lot of experience from that, I guess you would say. And it really does make a huge difference.
2 sales jobs is going to be a lot of experience for sure. So I bet it was a trip down memory lane for you a little bit. But you have a great point there. One of the first things he talks about with tonality is that you use tonality to convey meaning and sort of questions beyond what you're just saying, which is, for example, with the initial call of someone, you don't try to do like the news broadcast or like kind of stick up your butt approach of like, hello, is Mr. So-and-so there? I have an excellent proposition for him. It's like, no, it's try to treat it like it's your friend and like you really want to talk to him. You say, hey, is John there? And then you try to just keep that convincing tone to say like, yes, I am familiar with this person and I really want to speak to them just because I want to talk to them. So we will be covering all these topics later on. And I'm looking forward to dissecting a lot of them because there's a good bit to be said. And then at the end of the show, we're going to move towards how we can apply this to the spaces that we're in. And I also want to do a bit of a dissection of what the traditional pitch has been in the crypto sphere and why it is either working or not working. So with that said, we're going to do a quick rundown of all the chapters in the book and some of the main points. So here we go. First off, we have a little bit of an
Oh no, Zenith, you muted yourself. That's okay. Yeah, this is proof that we do it live.
No, that was my fault. I was trying to put you on solo. My desktop is messing up here. I think I'm actually going to leave, refresh everything, and come back in because I tried to highlight a comment earlier and I accidentally deleted it. So it's not letting me do things properly. So I will be right back, guys.
Well, shout out to whoever was that comment that got deleted.
I know. I'm so sorry. It was our very first one. It was somebody who posted way before we did the video. So
it was Hexagon Lost in Asia. That's who it was.
Yeah, I think
Hexagon Lost in Asia. Shout out to you wherever you're at. Shoot, I can't remember what his comment was, but I
No,
do
it
know
was
that I read
something
it.
about we're good to watch, something like that. He was giving us props.
Yeah, for
All right,
sure.
but I'll be right back. I'm gonna just close my browser and hope that I don't rug us. I don't think it will. I'm pretty sure it won't, but I'll be right back.
If we
Fair enough.
if we disappear, we'll shoot.
Yeah,
I
we'll
guess
come right back. So, but if
we'll
we
figure it.
do, people know why.
All
All right, be right back, guys.
Okie dokie. So,
Right.
I guess we'll see if we get rugged. But in the meantime, Mr. Zenith, you were going over the chapters.
summary.
Yes, let's go ahead and do the book summary whilst we
All
wait
right.
for our producer.
Going through it. First off, with the introduction, they introduce the concept that all sales are the same, and you can follow the straight line selling method, which just imagine a straight line from left to right. And basically you start, you go, not even halfway, you're going to end up making your first pitch. And then after that, that's where the real art of selling happens, which is you start doing what's called looping or handling objections to continue building rapport and building what are the 3 10s, so to speak. So after that, we have the actual straight line selling method. First off, there are a few requirements that are going to get you not a guaranteed sell, but the best probability of making the sale itself. First off, the goal is to try to get your customer to love your product as much as they can. This is one of the 3 10s. You can imagine it's like a scale of 0 to 10 of they either really don't like it or they really love it. Then after that, we get to, does the customer trust the brand that you are representing? Again, this is one of the 10s. So 1, they don't trust the brand at all. 10, they love the brand and cannot wait to work with the brand itself. Thirdly, we have the final of the 3 10s, which is, do they trust you and have they built a connection with you? Which is the final one, which is they don't know who you are, they don't like you, they hate you, versus they trust you a lot, they would leave you, their house, wife, kids, dogs, whatever. Those are the 3 10s. So to reiterate, we have, does your customer love the product? Do they trust the brand? And do they trust and connect with you? After that, we have the 4th point, which is the uncertainty threshold, which is that you kind of got to get the prospect to cross over the threshold of uncertainty, whether it's uncertainty about any of the 3 10s, which is you, the brand, or the company. And the goal of all the looping or handling all the objections you're going to be doing is helping them get over that point. And then lastly, we have the pain threshold. The general idea with the sales is that you are trying to ensure that your product is solving a problem or easing a pain that the customer has. And once you actually get the person over that pain threshold, it's the idea that I need this thing so bad that I'm willing to fork over my hard-earned money or time and commit to what I'm doing. There you go. That is the straight line selling method. All the rest of this is going to be tools and tips of the trade on how to do that. First off, we have the... What's up?
Oh, I was just going to say, can I hop in super quick?
Yeah, please do.
Dude, the pains in solving like crazy problems for people, when I heard him say that, and when you described it just now, it brought back to mind, like, do you remember when we were younger, for the folks at home who aren't like in the 20 to 30 to 40 age range, infomercials that had like the black and white beginning of like somebody like trying to sit down on the couch with like a bowl of popcorn or something, and they sit down and the popcorn like flies everywhere, and they're like, oh my god, this popcorn going
You
crazy.
talking
Or
about those commercials from like the 80s that were just so ridiculous.
Those really stupid
80s,
ones
I remember
where it's
this
like,
from like the 2000s.
yeah, it's like, hey, buy our special cabinet drawers that open and close, so that way all this Tupperware doesn't fall out on you every time you open your cabinet. Or
That
like
is-
this special spaghetti strainer, and it always showed like this. It was always in black and white during like the bad moment. I was like, look at these people who have all these problems, but fortunately we've got this product right here that can solve your every qualm and cater to your every desire.
I specifically remember those Tupperware ones because I saw a compilation of someone just took all the clips of those they could find, remove all the speech over the videos or all the music, and one of them is literally just like a dude reaching into the cabinet and then just pulling tubs onto himself like he's trying to impale himself with plastic tubs. It was like, that's what the B-roll looks like in real time.
Anyway, I don't want to dwell on this too much longer, but I thought that would be a fun little thing for us to revisit. So,
Those are some deep memories right there.
Yes, man. Yes, I feel sorry for the kids who didn't get like TV commercials growing up.
I feel
all the
sorry for the people in the commercials who just get attacked by random crap. Like,
oh no, they
what
got
the hell?
paid. They got paid to do that. Are you kidding me? I would love to have that job. What a cool job that would be to just be like, oh no, the world is collapsing on me.
Oh, look, I
Buy
picked
my
up this
spaghetti
plate.
strainer. Yeah, exactly.
And now
Get
I can't
my-
hold it anymore. Just like slams it on the floor. I need to buy
Yeah.
something to resolve this issue. It's like, sir, maybe don't throw your plates at the floor. That might be your first step.
Shoot, the other one that I remember is the Bumpits commercial about like trying to get these things to put in your hair to get more volume.
The Bumpits commercial.
Oh, I remember
boy.
those. They were basically like little like headbands, but you put them underneath your hair instead, and it kind of made it like just pop up. Well, those were so stupid.
Yeah, it was like it felt very New Jersey. I'll say that much.
Yeah, are you guys seeing what's going on in the comments right now? They're talking about like decircumcision weights and like.
Oh, Fast Abdul with the slap chop. That's right. Another
Oh, man.
entrepreneur gone to jail right there.
The slap chop. What was the slap chop?
The slap. It was shoot. It was the guy that also did the Sham Wow. It was this. Like,
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
yes.
I think he like punched a hooker because she bit his tongue or something. I don't know. Anyways, we're gonna get back to this.
Yes.
So-
Everyone's been learning a lot about the wolf today.
That we have. All right, on to the next one. We've covered straight line selling method. So next chapter is the first 4 seconds. This is the idea that the first 4 seconds of your pitch or your interactions with anybody is going to make a lot. And the key 3 things here is that you want to be sharp as a tack, you want to be enthusiastic as hell, and you want to sound like you are an expert in your field. It's hard to actually convey that you are an expert in your field, so to talk about the next best thing is just sound like you're an expert in your field. There you go. After that, we go into tonality and body language. This is the idea that a lot of selling is using the right body language and the right tonality at the same time. After that, we get into one of Will's favorite chapters, which is state management. It's the idea that you can control your mental state, which is going to affect how you act and how you come off to other people. This is the idea that you want to be in the state of mind that is absolute control and absolute dominance, which is that you are the master of your craft and your own universe, and you're going to make that sale no matter what. So after that, we have the surefire formula to manage your state. Keys here is you want to choose a state, choose your focus, choose your physiology, intensify it, and then set an anchor point. Find a way to remember that feeling and tie it to something that you can reference in the past. Notably, Jordan Belfort talks about an olfactory trigger. We're going to get back to that one in a bit because I have questions about that one. Finally, we go into advanced tonality. This is where he talks about the 10 core influencing tonalities and how you can best use them sales and when to properly use them. After that, we get into advanced body language, a bit of a shorter chapter, but talks more about like who you are and who your customer is going to determine how your body language should act. Also, he mentions that sometimes if you do body language very poorly, you can absolutely turn people off. Body language is not going to guarantee a sale, but it can guarantee that you are not going to get a sale if you fail at it. Lastly, after that, we have the art of prospecting. This is where he talks about 4 kinds of customers, where you have the customers that are dying to get your product already. Imagine more of emergent circumstances. After that, we have buyers in power. These are the people that are looking for something and shopping around. They're willing to be convinced, but at the same time, they also know they have other options and are willing to wait if necessary. After this, we have what are called the looky-loos, or otherwise known as tire kickers, which is the people that are not really going to buy, but are just kind of trying to waste your time a little bit and see if they can scrape something off of you. And then after that, you just have the mistakes. The people who get dragged in your sales funnel who don't really know what they're doing or don't really belong there. No worries on that one. And then lastly, we have, or sorry, not lastly, but we have 10 rules of straight line prospecting. This is stuff about talking like, how do you find the customers that you're looking for? Understand you can't create your own customers. You got to find the right ones. Using a script, how to actually use a script effectively and not just sound robotic, but actually show that you are trying to build a mutually beneficial agreement with somebody and not just be a script running on autopilot. Then after that, we have the final 2 chapters. The first one is the art and science of making world-class sales presentations. This is basically wrapping it all together to understand why your sales presentation is world-class and how it can help you make that pitch again, because according to Jordan, you are going to be asking for the sale probably 3 or 4 times. And then lastly, looping. This is one of the key concepts of the book. If you remember back to the straight line method where I said that they describe the straight line selling method is your first sales pitch, or your offer of the sale is going to come probably before even the halfway point in your conversation. The idea with this is that you are going to listen to your customer. You're going to address any of the concerns they have or any of the objections. And this is a chance to listen to the objection, understand it, find a way to rephrase and build one of the 3 10s back up. So again, they either need to love the product, you, or the brand. And then once you're back on the straight line, you make that sale again and you keep moving forward. All right, that's what I got. Any
That's
questions?
a lot of information. I'm glad we're breaking this down one piece at a time because that all just went. I like it,
Yes, it is.
You do a good job of running through the synopsis, and I love the little triggers that I was getting for the folks at home. I highly recommend that you guys read these books, like, just so that way you can sort of kind of follow along with us in the book club. Like, it's so nice to have these little have these little reminders and have these little things that bring up like these things that I've learned, because I don't remember most of the stuff that happens. And so, like, when you're talking about, the olfactory resetting and stuff, I get to thinking of like, oh yeah, bam bam or boom boom or whatever the hell it's called, and then
The boom,
talking
boom,
about like the
black tube of boom,
infomercials.
boom.
Yeah, exactly.
You can pick
this is
those up at your
also-
local Walgreens.
Yes.
To say it's a bit odd that the man advocating to keep a black tube of a strong smelling substance as a trigger point is also coming from the guy that had a cocaine addiction at one point. So
Perhaps there's a correlation.
maybe. I'm not suggesting you do cocaine.
He also knows how to sell.
This is true. Look, say what you want about the man, but the man can sell. Also, I did have one little thing prepared here. I pulled up the Jordan Belfort Wikipedia just for reference. The man was officially sentenced for security fraud and money laundering in 1999. He served 22 months of a prison sentence and got out for good behavior on exchange for the plea deal for when he became the FBI informant. And then after that, on top of that, he had to pay back $110 million to clients that were defrauded. No small chunk of change. And then after this is when he goes on to become one of the greatest salesmen and also have the best selling sales course in the history of man, effectively. If you look at the stats by it, I want to say one of the numbers I saw is that Jordan Belfort's straight line selling method, the sales courses he offers sell 10 times better than the next competitor. Man who went to jail for defrauding people also is the best salesman of all time. So just remember, even if you fail, it's never the end.
Correct.
And if you do it good enough, eventually they'll make a movie
sorry.
out of you. Think. I didn't hear it. All right. With that said, I am on to my first question for the panel. First topic I wanted to discuss was the first 4 seconds. Again, this is where the first impression is made, and Jordan talks about you want to come off sharp as a tack, you want to be enthusiastic as hell, and you want to sound like an expert in your field. I want to throw it to the panel and ask you guys why, or experiences of how you think the first 4 seconds have either benefited or kind of made or break you in your own personal sales lives, or just convincing. And then what do each of these concepts, like, why are they so important to the first 4 seconds and how you come off? So again, we have being sharp as a tack, being enthusiastic, and sounding like an expert.
I'll jump right in here and say, I mean, this is super important because there are so many things you are going to convey about who you are and what you're selling. And if the person wants to engage or not with you in those first 4 seconds, I mean, you're going to be delivering the body language, unless you're on the phone, you're going to be delivering the tonality, right? And the word selection. I know when I get a random phone call from somebody, I can tell if the first 4 words of what they're saying are something about something I'm not interested in. And you know, as humans, we're constantly judging and we're constantly analyzing and seeing if people are worth interacting with every day. I mean, you're shopping around the store and you run into someone, or like the person running the register,
Cashier.
the cashier, right?
There you go.
So they usually say something like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's your day? Whatever. And you can tell instantly in that first few seconds if they're interested in having any kind of conversation, if they think you're an interesting person worth talking to, if they're having a terrible day. Like, you just get so much information from that first sentence or that first 4 seconds. I just got to emphasize the importance of that. That's what it seemed like to me.
Fair enough. Will, what you got?
Basically the same thing, man. Like, first impressions are super important. Like, that's more or less what the first 4 seconds boils down to. Especially like first impressions if you want to extract something from someone. Like, if you're a salesman and you find a prospect, and you want to extract a sale from them, right? Like, it's first impressions are very important when you're dealing with regular people on an everyday basis. But like, it's even more important when people are inclined to tell you to fuck off in order to like guard their time, their money, their attention, their energy, whatever, like when people are trying to protect what's important to you, to themselves, and they want to stop you from taking it away from them, they're going to be way more inclined to, sever the connection or sever the sale or whatever. So you have to be like on your A game when you're approaching people to try and get something from them.
That's fair. All right,
Yeah.
Mrs. Producer, what do you think?
Yeah, I
First
definitely agree.
impressions.
I definitely agree. I wanted to say also that this applies in every aspect too. So even if you're cold calling from like, wherever you're building, or you can even do that from home now. There's some places that'll hire you to telemarket from home, which is pretty funny. But even then, they can hear it in your voice right away if you're sitting there like, hi, do you want to buy this thing? Or if you're like, hi, I'm calling you because blah, 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 whatever the heck, and they really, really do emphasize that a lot in this book too. So yeah, it's definitely a big, big thing, and it applies to everywhere. It's in person. One of your biggest things is your body language. And I think they say there's science backing it that like 80% of communication is actually done through body language, not physical words. So yeah, it's a huge, huge thing.
Love it. All right, I did want to dive a little bit deeper into here. So specifically, when they talk about being sharp as a tack, in your mind, what do you think of? How do you wish to accomplish that?
Are you asking me or everybody?
Everybody. Sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Oh no, you're fine. I'll go first. For me, I have something, and a lot of people have said similar to this. I have something that I call my customer service voice. And when that comes out, you're like, I have no idea who that person is. You sound different. I've done customer service like for almost every job I've ever had. So it's one of those big things. That's a strategy that a lot of people use, even if they don't mean to. And he mentions that in the book about trying to formulate things that aren't actually a question, but to make them sound like a question, to continue to basically prompt the other person's brain to kind of stay on track with you and not go into the defensive, not get into the point where they're like, I don't want to talk to you. You're annoying me. You're wasting my time. They don't automatically jump there if you're keeping them questioning kind of what you're doing and what they're thinking. And you keep them on their toes by kind of asking them questions and keeping their interest in that way. So that's one of the biggest strategies that I took away from that.
Sounds good. Sam, what you got? How can you come across sharp as a tack?
That's a great question. And this is why I'd always try to sell in person, because like otherwise this method doesn't really work. But I try to bring with me something very, very pointy. And the second I start talking to them, it's like, hey, how's it going? And boom, you reach out and you get them right in the eyeball.
Right in the eyeball.
Right in the eyeball. Yeah. If you don't have their attention, you're not going to sell. So, that's the first thing that I think about. But man, how to be sharp as a tack. I really think that's going to come across well if people by being genuine, and by really listening, and then not just listening, but imagining yourself in their scenario. If they start telling you anything, as soon as they start speaking to you, your brain just like locks in on the words that are coming out, and you're interpreting and you're trying to put yourself in their shoes, and and basically live their experience so that you can know how to respond. And that seems to me where the sharpness would come from in a conversation, the edge of like, as soon as they say something that, because when you're in their head and you're experiencing that, as second they say something that triggers you to want to ask a question, then you do, because like there's that responsiveness, like the responsiveness, right? Because you're there. You're not like, oh, waiting for them to just finish talking and then ask some other question, right? You're part of it and you're engaging. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, so basically
Definitely.
like taking advantage of the moment and being in the moment with them. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and I would
absolutely.
like to say that the last book we talked a lot about this too, about being enthusiastic to be talking to somebody.
Yep, that was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Great read, by the way.
That what you were talking about, Sam, that's oh man, just like the sharpness of the tack. People are like really yearning for genuine human interaction with other people, and when they get that, even if it's in like some sort of sales pitch or something like that, if you're talking to someone and they're like legitimately listening to you and paying attention to what you're saying, and like not just waiting for you to finish your thoughts to like hop in with their own little monologue thing, which is sometimes fun or whatever, but it's not the same as like a genuine person to person interaction. People are hungry for that. And so when you give them a little bit of that, it results in like a beautiful little relationship blossoming up from there, whether it's like a sales relationship, whether you're talking to someone that you love, whether you're making a new friend, or whether you're just like having a positive interaction with a stranger. That's the sort of thing that like people love to have. And like looking past this from like a sales perspective, that's just a great way to interact with everybody, like period, is just to be sharp as a tack and put yourself into other people's shoes and stuff. So good observation, bro.
Sure. When I think of sharp as a tack, I think I might take a different perspective when it comes to this, which is, I imagine, kind of like what Sam was saying, more of an in-person thing with his joke of stabbing someone in the eye. But I imagine being sharp in my mind, this might be a little bit of the military side coming out, but just being not forceful, but purposeful in every action that you take and every word that you say, especially when you start off, which is that you know what you're going to say, you know how to say it, and you are delivering it to that person that you're intending to deliver it to. The idea is you're not just trying to like lackadaisically like, oh yeah, whatever. It's like, no, hi, I'm very excited to meet you. What's your name? That kind of stuff. And then carry into there. And this kind of ties into the next one that I wanted to discuss, which is being an expert in the field. Maybe not an expert in a specific field, but one of the ideas that Jordan talks about in the book is that experts don't waste time and they don't waste energy and effort on things that don't matter and are frivolous. So that's kind of where I tied being sharp and being an expert can kind of come in the same avenue, so to speak. So in your guys' opinions, what's the best way to come across as an expert?
I would say is to actually be an expert. Don't go out and try and sell something that you don't know anything about or that you don't personally believe in. Because unless you're a very good liar, if you don't personally believe in it or you don't know anything about it, they're going to catch that. They're going to, you're going to fumble the ball in some way and they're going to catch on to that. And then you're done, once that happens.
Yeah, so you're saying that conviction is something that you can tell, even if you don't know what it's about. You can tell if that person has it about the thing they're talking about.
Yes, exactly. And I would say that was, I think I mentioned earlier that I have worked 2 different sales jobs, and one of them was that I did have that ability because I legitimately did think that the product that they were offering to people was a good deal and it could actually help people. It was basically a cable package but you didn't have to pay like the full price for cable. You got to pick like your certain favorite channels and then you got all those. So it kind of turned cable into like a streaming thing. It was really interesting. And then the other one was jewelry, that at first I really believed in the jewelry, but after a while I started to figure out that a lot of the stuff was very cheaply made and there was a lot of gimmicky crap going on with the company. And then it was, it wasn't the same. I couldn't really make good numbers on those. And I was doing really good at first, but after I started to get it into my head that like, these products are not as great as they initially made them sound. And I've owned several of them that have broken or, disappointed or whatever. It became so much harder to convince anybody that they were worth buying, so.
Makes sense. Tell you what, Will, do you want to bring up the comment from Fast Abdul there?
I don't have
10,000 hours.
Yes.
Sorry, I know you don't have the.
I can't bring it up, but I love this comment that Fast Abdul made. The 10,000 hours. You need 10,000 hours into something in order to like genuinely be an expert. Like that's just such a good metric. If you think about, a person goes to work, we'll just say we're taking the average person here. A person goes to work 40 hours a week and they work 50 weeks of the 52-week year and they take 2 weeks off as vacation. So 40 hours times 50 weeks is 2,000 hours. So you work 2,000 hours a year. Fun fact, that's how you can figure out your salary if you're paid hourly, right? You take your number, you multiply by 2,000. Congratulations, that's what you earned this year, right? So anyways, so you do 2,000 hours a year. So after about 5 years of doing 8 hours a day, like you become an expert in your field. And that just means that like most of the problems, most of the stuff that can go on. Like you are well versed and you're ready to pull up the information like at the drop of a hat or anything. So it is very important to get those 10,000 hours in. And like to recognize like you could still become an expert in less than 10,000 hours. You can know all the information. But the important thing of being an expert is like not just like knowing the stuff, but also being well versed in when things go wrong. Like nothing ever gets to the point of perfection. There's just always going to be flaws in every sort of system, every sort of excursion that you undertake. And being able to identify flaws and quickly fix them, that's what separates the experts from like the novices and the journeymen and the like on the lower end of the totem pole. So those 10,000 hours really do count. And like the point isn't so much to, so I had, okay, let me dial back to my earlier point. It's not so much to knowing the information, it's knowing how to deal with issues, because learning stuff is pretty easy. Like you can climb you can ascend the mountain of knowledge pretty quickly, but if you haven't lived the experience and dealt with the issues that come, like all the unforeseen stuff, then that's where like that's the thing that delineates the two. I'm kind of going circular here, but that was my thoughts on the 10,000 hours and things.
No, that's good. The 10,000 hours thing is something I've heard of as a mastery concept before, which is more of like if you want to practice a skill or a trade or a craft, hitting that 10,000 hours mark is a very important concept. However, I will say this, as far as coming off as an expert in your field, I think our bachelor with the bungalows here does a very good job on his social media profile. So if you do get a chance to go look at the Bungalows for Bachelors Instagram page, I think, Sam, you do a fantastic job, specifically with the reels that you put out. Because the way that you come across as an expert to me is that you're able to boil down or clip these concepts that you're explaining to people. It's easy to grasp, it's quick, and it's clear and concise to the point. What do you think about that part?
Oh man, well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. That's good feedback. I was literally going to go down this hole here, and that was the concept of like appearing as an expert has so much more to do with being able to show, not tell. Right. So it's kind of difficult if you're having a cold call, right? But like if someone is somewhat familiar with your brand or something that you've done, and like they are able to see your competency without you having to tell them you're an expert at it, then it's just, you don't have to sell it. It's already sold. And so social media can be a huge part of that, because again, social media just spreads what you're trying to do. Everybody can see it. And so that's so like the fact that you brought that up even before I went down this path is just an example of being able to like excuse me, like knowing, like kind of like you said, just knowing something to the level that you can explain it simply, and that you can like there's just evidence. It's the irrefutable visual evidence that this is here. And that like no, like anybody who shows up and looks at it and says, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, is either just being arrogant, or they just don't care, or like it's just foolish, because it's like right in front of you. Like there he is accomplishing the goals with the information. And it's like, so that's the way it seems to me to come across as an expert, is to use the showing and the not telling part.
Perfect. Well said. All right, on to our last, the first 4 seconds, which is enthusiasm. Excuse me. How do you guys personally draw the line for your own enthusiasm? Because the book talks about be enthusiastic, make sure it feels like it's going to boil out of you, but don't let it, because then you just look like a crazy person. What do you guys think? How do you show enthusiasm without showing the crazy?
Oh man, practicing stoicism really helps, but also like most people feed off of enthusiasm. So I tend to not quite follow the book's advice on keeping it bottled in. If I'm feeling enthusiastic, or if I think I should be feeling enthusiastic, then I will either express it or I will fake it. You know, it's like it's pretty easy to be enthusiastic. Like there was a quote I think attributed to Winston Churchill, or no, it was G.K. Chesterton, excuse me. But there's no such thing as like uninteresting things, just uninterested people. So if something is happening that you're not like maybe naturally enthusiastic about, all you have to do is change the way that you think about the things. Decide that you're like, hey, you know what? Whatever this person is into, or whatever this person is feeling, or whatever this person is talking about, now it is interesting to me because it's the thing that they like, and I want to like be in tune with them. So I'm going to decide to like the thing that they're talking about, even if it's just for temporary sake or whatever the heck. Right. But you can become enthusiastic. That's the fake. It's not really faking it. It's just learning how to interact better with people. So I would say like practicing a little bit of stoicism, so that way you're in control of the whole process, right? And you're not just like some child that's just like, yelling and screaming because he's happy. It's like, oh, hey, I'm an adult, I need to, interact like an adult that's in control of my corporeal form, and the noise and the distractions and everything around me, right? So practicing a little bit of stoicism and learning how to just decide to become interested in things. That's a better way to say it than faking it, I suppose. There's natural enthusiasm, and then there's like chosen enthusiasm, where you can say, hey, you know what, I might not have known what this thing is before, but I'm going to look into it now. And like we can't all decide to like Brussels sprouts immediately. It might take a little bit of training or something like that. But that's how I personally conquer that. So I don't even remember what your original question was, but it was something along the lines of how do you do enthusiasm?
How to be enthusiastic without being crazy.
That's right. Yes. Sometimes crazy helps. So I'm probably not the best person to ask.
Look, I fully admit to people, like, I'm a bit of a crazy man. Like, I try to make sure that, like, all the financial talk is well grounded and based in, like, reality and some decent theory. But at the same time, I recognize, like, the way that I act in my personal life is I'm willing to do things that a lot of people wouldn't even, like, conceive of doing, just because it's like, sure, I'll go live on the floor for a few months. Why not?
Goddamn right. Yeah, it's good to sleep on concrete floors with straw pillows from time to time.
I don't know. My back says differently. Anyways, back to the rest of the panel. Guys, what do you think? Enthusiastic, but not crazy. What do you got?
Really quick here, I want to point out that Jay's got a really great comment here. If you scratch a bit past the surface, it's not hard to find something interesting about anybody or anything. I really like
Absolutely. That. Jay is entirely 100%. Correct here.
I would add to that most people are probably more than happy to start talking about something that is interesting to themselves. If you scratch the surface in the right area, then it's just a balloon of information waiting to pop. People love talking about themselves and the stuff that they're interested in. So, if you're trying to show that, what was the wording in the question you asked?
Enthusiastic.
Yes. So like you showing that enthusiasm can come across as being able to find out which bubble to pop so that you can get them to spew and, what's their, what's the word? Primary driver emotion.
Fair. I was going to say that's a great callback to, again, How to Win Friends and Influence People. In that book, they talk about how a lot of people's favorite thing to... Oh, sorry. Take it away.
No, take it away. Fine. I was just going to say the exact same thing because that's what they're talking about in there all the time. Sparking.
What's the quote, Mrs. McGettit?
Oh God, you're asking me for a quote? A quote about what?
Oh, it's people's favorite things to talk about is oftentimes just themselves.
Oh, are you talking about? Of course, you're interested in what you're interested in. You're eternally interested in it. That one.
There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you're eternally interested in it, just as everybody else is internally interested in what they're interested in. Something like that. I know what's wrong. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry, but that's
Close enough.
The gist.
We'll call it the 80-20 rule on that one. You nailed
Yeah,
it.
similar, right?
I like
But no,
it.
that's what I was going to bring up is again, how to influence friends and influence people really goes into this about finding something that you've been genuinely enthusiastic about that another person is interested in. And so that's what they're describing here too. You're that enthusiasm without going too far, you know, if you can spark that interest in them, usually you got to start by talking about something they're interested in. You can't just start talking about yourself and expect them to get into that.
Absolutely. Sounds good. With that being said, on to my next question for the panel. So, one of the main talking points about the book when it comes to connecting with people is that you have to use the right tonality for the right circumstance. And using tonality with the right argument and timing and matching can be very important. For example, one of the tonalities that he talks about is the idea of a whisper to like really sell something or like make it feel like you're letting somebody in on a secret. Something like that is a great way of convincing and really emphasizing the point that you're saying. So when you guys think about ways that you use tonality in your daily life, how can you use, what are some examples that you think of using tonality to convince or influence other people around you?
I got one.
Let's hear it.
When there's an emergency, you yell at people. You know, it inspires urgency. You know, so like if you know, Sam, from back when you and I worked up in the towers, I don't yell very often, but when yell something like, "Hey, don't touch that shackle," or "That bolt's tight," or "That bolt's not tight," or like, "Watch the choker," or something like that, it's like, "Oh shit, something's about to go wrong," or like, "We could all die," or something along those lines. So that's probably not a very good example of using tonality. But another example of people using tonality is when they raise the inflection after every word that they say to imply that they're your friends, and they make every word sound like a question. That's common in that's common in the California girls. That's the
The Valley
California
Girl?
girl talk. Yeah, the Valley Girl. So like you can do that to like sort of kind of like oh shoot, what's the oh man, I used to, damn it, my mind is blanking. There's a reason to do it, and it's basically to show like, hey, I'm on your team, I'm on your side, like we're friends, you can trust me, blah de da de da. It's like friendship and stuff. There's a whole bunch of different like tonality things, or you can speak confidently, you know, with pauses and interjections, or you can ask questions, or you can do like sing-songy sort of things. These are all really like basic tonality things, but those are some examples of like of using tonality. I don't really know how to explain it, just how to show
No,
it.
it's, I will admit, this is one of those concepts that's kind of hard to like actually put into words, but you did a good job of starting off. One of the examples that Jordan talks about is the sing-song voice, which is like when your mother calls you as a child, if it's the sing-song, it's like, hey, come here, it's a very friendly thing, as opposed to the stern, and you get your middle and last name attached to it. That's when you know, oh, yeah, we fucked up.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
So I guess I will admit this might have been a bit of a vague question, third of the panel. However, here are some of the 10 core influencing tonalities that he talks about. I want you guys to try to identify one of these and talk about it a little bit on your own when I finish. So first off is the idea of I care. It's about being a real person and presenting yourself as if you care about someone's well-being. Next up, we have scarcity, the idea of like, hey, this is the last car in the lot. After that, we have utter sincerity, a calm, smooth, confident tone that implies what you're currently saying is going right to the heart. After that, we have absolute certainty. This is kind of what Will talked about, where you are being punctual, factual, and without a doubt, what you're saying is what it is. After that, we have the reasonable tone of like, oh, come on, everyone would agree with this. After that, we have implied obviousness. It's one of those things that's like, oh, come on, like, yeah, like we all see that the sky is blue. And then finally, we have I feel your pain. Sorry, that was
Those
not
are
final.
good. You're doing
three
very
more.
well.
I'm not trying to do it. I just read the words and the emotions come out of the brain and the face holes.
This is awesome.
And we have, hypothetically, money aside. Money's no object. What are we talking about here? Like, put that aside. Then we have mystery and intrigue. I will admit, I read this one and I wasn't sure what to do for it. But then lastly, we have something that Mrs. Producer was talking about previously, which is phrasing declaratives as a question to kind of make it like an implied answer that you get. So, folks, any of these that you enjoy using in your daily life?
Oh, man.
I'm going to take off with one here. So I was thinking about this after Will's talking about working on the tower, right? So if I'm climbing up the ladder and Will's climbing up the ladder 50 feet below me, and I've got my impact drill in my bag next to me, and it's not really hooked on or strapped to anything. It's just kind of in there. And I'm, climbing through something, and as things snag, which they sometimes do, my drill snags and bumps out of my pocket and falls straight down. It starts falling. I'm going to yell, headache. I'm not going to yell, headache.
Hey guys, come on.
Will.
Headache.
Look out for this drill
Headache.
plummeting towards your head.
Yeah. So
Maybe
just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Emergency. That's what we yell up in the tower, by the way. For the folks at home who have never been up in a tower, when anything falls on a tower, the fastest thing to yell is headache, because it's 2 syllables. It's really difficult to misinterpret. And if people say, look out, like people generally are like, oh, it could be anything. But if someone says headache, it's like, oh shit, fucking run for cover. Hard to mistake that one. Get underneath something before, a fucking half-pound bolt comes crashing through your car or something.
I was gonna say another good one might just be 4.
Yeah, four
Actually,
would be good, but that's 1 syllable. You need 2 syllables for something to be like
That
because
bop, bop.
there's only so many
Really?
there's only so many syllable combinations. Yeah.
One of the
Fair
things that
enough.
I've always been told is to yell fire.
Fire.
If you're in some kind of crisis or something's going on, if you yell, like if somebody's like, let's say you're walking through the
You're in a
parking lot
water
and you're walking, shush, Will. No, you're walking through the parking lot of like Walmart, and you get to your car, and as you're getting up to it, you see somebody's trying to break into it. Nobody yells, somebody's trying to break into my car. They tell you to just yell fire. Why? Because a lot of people tend to look if you yell fire. They're like, wait, where's
Yeah.
this? So that's one
Yeah.
thing.
Ooh, I like that. That's good.
There's that. There's also the other classic, which is, that's my purse. I don't know you.
Okay, Zenith.
What? No
Oh,
King of the Hill references here?
I like
Hold
that.
on, I got it. I got it.
Then you kick him square in the nuts.
Beautiful. I'll say, looking at this list, probably the one that I feel like the reasonable tone. That's something that everyone kind of like subconsciously understands and applies, which is like when you're trying to convince people of something, you do the reasonable tone. It's that I imagine the tonality is, it's kind of like an umbrella. You go up and then you come back down. It's like, come on,
I wish we had a
everybody knows
graph
about
for
this
all
one.
of these, dude. That'd be great if there was like a whoop, like for questions, like where you raise the tone of your voice at the very end, or like it's reasonable,
Again,
or it's angry.
It's a bit odd talking about the shape of your sound. However, you can kind of imagine it in your head.
Yeah. Well,
right,
it's
tell you what.
like the pitch, right?
It is pitch. It's absolutely pitch.
Yeah.
Pitch goes up and down. Exactly, Jay. We got the
Blast.
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast.
Dude, I'm getting Baja Blasted, Jay. What are you doing on a Friday night?
Ooh, are those alcoholic ones? Not to go down a tangent, but
Yeah, they're not the alcoholics. I've
I
had those
forgot they
ones.
made those. I heard they're gross.
they're terrible. Don't drink them. I was about to make fun of you if you were drinking an alcoholic one, Zenith.
Well, I was going to
because
say, I
they're-
am trash, and I actually kind of enjoy them.
Oh my goodness, bro, that's too much sugar.
All right, let's get rid of him. Kick Zenith up.
This also
Which-
comes from the guy that was like trying to mix Johnny Walker and Club Soda on Wednesday. So
Bro, I'd drink it. It's probably good. It can't be that bad. I would mix some like $1,400 scotch with like a glass of Coke. No sweat.
fair enough. All right, on to the next topic. I wanted to talk about Will's favorite portion of the book, which is state management. And I also wanted to specifically ask about the olfactory trigger. This one brought back a deep junior high school memory for me. For those who don't know at home, olfactory means your smelling senses. That is the word for the smelling sense is olfactory. So if anything with the olfa then that is referencing your smell. So I remember back in junior high, everyone was freaking out for finals in 7th grade because it was the first time they ever took them. And this one kid heard a study online that if you smell things while you're studying and you smell it later in the test, you can remember it better. So I vividly remember this kid with like a small candle that he had like rubbed onto his hoodie and then was just like snorting it like some sort of cocaine addict, like mid-class, and everyone's like, what the hell is going on?
That's
So-
pretty brilliant though. I like that.
I don't think it worked the way he thought it did.
Yeah, I don't think
Partly
it worked
because-
if he was just, shoving his face in it the whole time. It's supposed to be linked to something. It can't be linked to like everything at the same time. Yeah.
Correct. That is very specific. You can't go for it, Sam.
It's more linked to like your chemical and emotional responses. It's not linked to like technical information download. It's like if you want to be in a chemical state, like you're experiencing depression, or you're experiencing like elation, or you're experiencing like these different, like we all know that these are different emotional states we can be in, and that's what we want to manage, because like we're trying to. So I don't think that worked for that guy.
Well, maybe
No, I
I'm
don't
just
think so.
maybe I'm
Go
just
for
a
it.
strange one here, because like I will totally like I'll totally be driving along the interstate, listening to a podcast or playing a video game, doing a thing, or like the other day I was walking down the trail that I walk when I do my little workout thing, and one of the times I'll be listening to something, and then the next time I go there, I'll think about like, oh, there was that thing. Like I think about icosahedron at a certain part of my walk on the trail because I was listening to like a Sami talk about icosahedron, right? And like when I pass certain mile markers on like Interstate 80, I'll think of like something back home that I was talking to like my friend on the phone about when I pass this marker. So perhaps I'm the only one that like ties things that I'm doing to things that I'm listening. I don't know.
No,
like,
absolutely. Everybody does that. What we're saying is that this guy was trying to use the candle method to basically remember the answers, every answer for the test, every single part, like, which isn't going to work. The point is to connect the smell to one specific thing, one specific memory. And you can't
it's
do
also-
that with 80 questions on a test. It just
He
isn't going to
needed
work.
80 candles. That's
There
what
you
it
go.
was.
80
That's a
different
lot of
scents on his
different
sleeve. He
candles.
just like goes into catabolic shock in the middle of the test from all these smells.
No, the point I think the chapter makes on this one, specifically with the smelling stuff, is that in your memory, smell can play a very important role of just like a trigger or a connection to something in the past. It's probably not something that you think about every day. However, when you do encounter that smell again, especially if it's particularly something you don't get exposed to regularly, is you can get brought back. Specifically in the book, Jordan talks about like fresh cut grass at camp, and then also the smell of the ocean at low tide when everything's exposed. Like those are two, in my mind at least, those are two very distinct smells that I could easily see being tied with memories, and then you just have all these memories come rushing back when you experience it. So specifically, the point of talking all about this in the book is the idea that you want to try to like train yourself. Or if you've ever known about like the Pavlov's hierarchy. However, he's famous for the experiment that he did with the dogs and the dinner bell and the food. The idea is that you can train an animal to associate a sound with a sensation and the prospect of food, to the point that eventually you can just use the sound to basically have an animal salivate in anticipation of food. This is something similar here, which is you want to train yourself to be in the best possible mental state, to have like pure confidence and pure just, I'm not gonna say like aggression, but just it's that state where it feels like everything you touch turns to gold and you just can't lose no matter what you do. It's the idea that you want to be able to achieve that, and then when you really need to pull it out of the bag for some sales stuff, you can maybe find like a cheat or a way to associate that feeling with a smell that you can induce into yourself to get to that state so you're ready to perform.
That's brilliant. I love it.
This is where we get the reference of the tube of Boom Boom, which is like a smelling salt or a stick of something that's very fragrant that you only break out when you really need to get in that state, or you experience once you are truly feeling that state. Not feeling a fake of it, but actually knowing that you are in that mode.
Was that
I'll vouch
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
vouch for Boom Boom.
Is that the mint thing that he was talking about?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page.
Is
For
there
sure.
more to that vouching for Boom Boom, Sam? I might
Yes,
ask this because I have inside information.
Yes, I have 3 flavors. I've got peppermint, I've got like watermelon something, and the other one is something else very, very refreshing. But they are extremely potent. And yeah, I mean, I can't say I've had enough experiences in my life with sales to be able to train something into myself, but I was very curious about it, and so they are real, they are cheap, they are easy to get, and they smell pleasant too.
Yes, they do.
That's good, at least. So, for people that might be a little confused as to why we're talking about this or even what we're talking about, this concept is the idea that it's you tell yourself to put a smile on to feel better, or to you look at somebody like, hey, stop being sad. And they just go, oh, and they're like, all right, try smiling. Force yourself to smile and you'll feel the betterness just start coming out. It's something like that. But in this case, it's the idea that, like, all right, you're going to try to achieve this mental state because as a human, you're in control of your own emotions, and your mental state is that you want to imagine yourself being well so that you feel well, so that you perform well.
I've got something for the folks at home, and it was what you had just said about, like, if you feel sad, like, smile. There's a better mechanism for feeling good, and it's super cheap. You go out and you buy a really inexpensive small trampoline, and when you're feeling sad, you just go over the trampoline and you jump on it a little bit, because jumping releases endorphins. It is a physiological thing that will happen to your body. When you jump, you get happy. It's like you don't see sad people jumping on a trampoline, is the way that the statement goes. But literally, if you're feeling like shit, if you go jump on a trampoline a little bit, like, you will feel better. This is a proven methodology. This is something that shoot, what's his name? Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins does in a lot of his very expensive seminars, is he has, like, people get up out of their chairs and get up out of their desks and stuff, and, like, in the auditorium that he's at, and he just has them like, all right guys, just start jumping around a little bit. And then they literally just, it's so simple. Like, there's so many easy little biological hacks, like telling people to smile. If somebody's angry and you tell them to smile, like, unless you give them, like, a really convincing message, they're probably just going to be more angry.
Yeah, they might punch you if you do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
is one of the famous blunders right there.
Yep. But if you whip out your pocket trampoline, you throw it on the ground, you're like, hey, could you jump on that for a second? Or so, I don't know, do a better job selling the idea than that. But, like, literally jumping up and down will fix almost any depressive, like, feelings, or, like, maybe not fix it, but it will lessen the severity of almost anything bad going on. So, like, if you get in a car crash and your arm's broken, just pull out your trampoline. If
Okay,
your
but now
parents die,
I've
pull out a trampoline.
okay, well, you got a little far. I just really want to see Will walking around with a pocket trampoline now. I got to know what that would look like.
They make these cool moon boot things. All right, we're getting on too many tangents here, but they make these
Moon
cool.
boots is, again, 90s infomercial stuff, I'm pretty
Yes,
sure.
yes, it is.
No. What I'm talking about is essentially a vertical leaf spring, and I call them moon boots because I don't know what else to call them. But it's essentially like a vertical leaf spring that, like it puts you up off the ground, like, I don't know, a fucking 2 feet or something
Gives
like
you
that.
some pep in your step.
Yeah, and, like, you can jump around with them. They're pretty cool. You can also fall a lot farther when you're 2 foot higher off the ground. So,
That sounds
buyer
quite
beware.
painful.
Yeah,
they're
don't
super
recommend
cool.
that.
I did
I
want to
recommend jumping.
Mrs. McGettit, what you got?
I wanted to mention something here that on the same note, that this had been a kind of a thought experiment that I saw or read about, I guess. And somebody had depression and they went to a therapist, and the therapist, was like, here, go take this medicine and do this, do that. And they decided this particular person didn't want to rely on the medicine because, that was just their preference. And so what she did is she took it upon herself to make a new system where in the morning she would, like, grab a little post-it notepad, write down just one thing, that she liked about herself, or that she had to be happy or grateful for, or just something positive, stick it up somewhere in the house, and then just leave it there for the day. And she did that every day for like 100 days. And then the next time she went into her therapist to talk about this, they were amazed. They're like, what did you do? Because whatever you're doing, it's working for you. And I want to recommend it to other people too. So there are a lot of ways where you can get yourself into or out of a mental state if you really work at it and you come up with some ideas like that. Because if you're sad all the time and you're just not happy with yourself, giving yourself a little reminder about something good about you could help you a lot.
Fair enough.
That is absolutely brilliant. I've not heard of that one before, Mrs. McGettit. That's absolutely fantastic. I've got a kind of a little spin off of that though, if you guys would hear it. It's essentially, whenever someone says something nice to you, like on your phone, whenever someone like texts you like, "Hey, thank you for making me dinner last week," or "Hey, I appreciate you putting up my wall," or "Hey, thank you for your service," or blah de da. Whenever someone says something nice to you, or says that they appreciate you, or says that like they enjoy your company, or blah de da. Whenever someone casts like a nice positive spell on you, what you do is you screenshot that shit, you crop it out, and you put it in a little folder on your phone, and you call that your motivational folder, or you can call it your testimonials folder, or you can call it whatever the hell you want. But whenever you're feeling down, or you're feeling sad, or you're feeling unhappy or whatever, you scroll through your pictures, you find your little motivation folder, and you read all these messages of other people saying like, "Hey, I appreciate you doing this, that, and the other thing. Like your work is very important to me," or like, "Thank you for doing this," or "Hey, like I love you, son," or blah de da, like whatever the hell, right? And it costs almost, and this is something you can do for other people too. It costs almost nothing to cast a positive spell on someone, where you can say like, "Hey, person, like this, like it has to be genuine, right? But you say, "Hey, person, you did this, that, and the other thing for me, and I really appreciate it." Or you brought about like the scenario in which I learned this, that, or the other thing, and like that really means something to me, right? It costs almost nothing to cast these positive spells on like both yourself and on other people. So I highly recommend you guys do that. Like you text people like, "Hey, you're pretty cool," or like, "I like what we did today. Thanks for hanging out," or yada yada yada. And then whenever you get those texts or something from someone else, you save that shit, you put it in a little folder, and you store it for later for when you're feeling unhappy or you're feeling sad. Or you can be like Cassie, the story that Cassie talks about. You print all that out, or you write it down on post-it notes, and you post it all over the wall. Or if you own a business, then you print it out like every time someone gives you like a 4-star review or a 5-star review, and you put it on your website, or you hang it up in your business or something. Like you can get social proof from it. You can feel better yourself. There's just an infinite number of things that you can do with like the positive words from other people, and like giving positive words to other people as well. So you guys probably
Beautiful.
didn't think you would get this from the Wolf of Wall Street today, but that was my little thing for you there.
That's fair. I promise we're going to talk a little bit more about salesmanship and actual like selling and whatnot in a bit. However, I do want to close this topic out with one of the main reasons I brought up, which is that whether or not you believe in the tube of the smelling stuff, do you genuinely believe that if you put yourself in a certain frame of mind, that you are actually going to perform better? I'm not talking about the guy at the party saying I play beer pong better when I'm drunk, but I'm saying that if you mentally prepare yourself, do you think it actually has a physical difference? Or maybe you're just like, I don't know, psyoping yourself into feeling better about the performance? What's your take on this?
I'm gonna jump right in and say absolutely yes, because a quick example could be a cold shower. So when you are experiencing emotions or anxiety in life, and you find yourself thinking like worrying about this and worrying about that and doing all these things, like that puts you in a particular state to be able to accomplish goals in a certain way. But if you were to hop in a shower, you're taking a warm shower, right? And you switch it to cold. The second that cold water hits you, all of a sudden, nothing else matters that you were just worrying about, because now your brain's like, oh my God, I'm going to die because this is freezing water. I'm losing body heat. This is a survival scenario. Problems, right? I'm going to focus on the now and the fact that I'm alive instead. And that instant chemical switch off is so valuable in just like reminding yourself how to focus and be oriented on things. And so like as soon as you hit that, and yeah, it's maybe a temporary thing, but the reality of like being able to stop worrying about things and like get over your emotional self and focus on what's the next thing. Like, and let me just get to it. Like I've got nothing else on my mind. I just like, okay, what next thing? Boom, focus. Like that's just a totally invaluable. And I would say, yeah, it's a super real thing. So
Fair enough. On to the next one. Who would
I
like to
love
jump in?
Oh man, I love cold showers. Thank you, Sam. That was very good. You reminded me. Need to take more cold showers all the time. Cold water is great. Cold water therapy is fantastic. What was the question again, Zenith?
Do you believe that the frame of mind actually makes a difference, or does it just make you feel like you make a difference?
Well, if you feel like you make a difference, then you effectively do. If you feel something, then you're essentially like making this scenario real. So you can either reinforce the things that make you feel a certain way, or you can decide to change it. So like if you ever see Mike Tyson or some fighter before a fight and they're sitting there and they're like, man, like whatever, and then they start like smacking themselves in the space. They're like, they're getting into the zone, auto zone, ready to fight, ready to change the batteries or whatever the hell. You know,
I just imagine you in the locker room with like the headphones on. You look at your buddy to the left, be like, "Bro, I'm going to AutoZone.
Going to AutoZone,
Going to AutoZone,
or whatever." You know, like you can like hype yourself up. You can like that's like why hype men exist. That's like you can do these things. You can cast these little not neurolinguistic. You can cast these little like mind shifting spells on yourself, and you can change. You can throw yourself in the cold water, and you can feel like, oh my god, everything's ending, I'm going to die, and it like brings you back to reality. It like regrounds you in like what is really important right now. Like for real though, like for those of you guys, Tam, I know you said like I'm still not brave enough for the cold showers. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to be brave. In fact, it's better to recognize that you're not brave and then do the things anyways. It's the whole just jump. Like whenever you see somebody like and they're like on a cliff above a bunch of water and it's like a safe-ish distance and everyone knows you'll be fine, but it's like people are just sitting there and they're like, I'm thinking about it too much. People get inside their head too often and they just need to like hype themselves up, stop thinking, do a little bit of like the extreme feeling and get into the zone, whatever the zone is. So it's my thoughts.
Fair enough. All right, Mrs. Producer. Does the mental state actually improve the performance or just how you feel about the performance?
I would say it's both.
Okay.
I would say that it's kind of like a Band-Aid effect if you only use it when you're basically like have to, you know what I mean? But if you do use it continually and you do use it, you know, in the right way, it can end up, I would say, permanently altering your state of mind just because you are putting yourself in that state of mind so often. One of the big things that I've heard before is that motivation does not actually exist. Motivation is a made up concept, and whether or not you do the thing is just whether or not you do the thing. You make that decision. So in order to convince yourself to be motivated to do something, you have to decide to be motivated to do something. You can't, like, it's not something that your brain just like will put in there and just make up for you. And so that's always kind of stuck with me, and that's kind of how I'm viewing this. So if you do the thing like once or twice, use the what do they call the boom booms to
the tube of boom boom, yeah.
If you use that only for like one specific scenario and you only do it, you know, a couple times, and then you kind of just like, oh, this is stupid, I gave up on it, then you know it's not going to succeed. It's a very similar idea to like a placebo pill. If you are convinced that whatever the heck you're taking or you're doing is going to work, it's going to work better for you just because that's what your mind has decided is going to happen.
Fair enough. I guess my final point on this one is I would answer this question with a yes with an asterisk, which is that I think that you can absolutely do certain things to achieve specific mental states or even a physiological state. For example, I know Will talked about previously like the hype up by the hype man, the hype music. Any athlete knows about this, which is that you want to try to like attain that zen, that focus state. A lot of us have like the playlist, which is you build it in a specific way to like get yourself to like feel good and then loose and then focus in and then build up for that like loud, just big music at the end. So that by the time you step out of the locker room, you're just, let's go. That sort of thing. Again, I also go back to the asterisk on my yes, because like my friend in 7th grade, I think that it's possible to take some of these concepts too far, which is that if you overexpose yourself to whatever your trigger is, if you're trying to use a trigger to achieve a mental state, is that you could actually just start to get either desensitized or just too used to it to the point that it might lose its effect, or you don't actually like get the full like placebo effect out of it. So I just imagine like a fighter who has a ritual every time and they do it every time, but then does the ritual work if you still get knocked out? It's like,
That'd be
maybe
like a
once you start-
variable.
it
right?
could be a variable for sure. That's a good argument against it, but that's just where my line of thinking comes in. Alrighty, with
I
that
get
said,
knocked
really
out.
go
Oh,
for it.
go
Go for it. Yeah.
Sorry, before we move on, I wanted to go through some comments really quick here, if that's all right.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Good
All
call.
right, cool. All right, so we have Russ. He stopped in and he said, "Hi, everybody. I'm impartial to wolves." Then we had Funkmaster Hex. He's just saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, good evening."
What's up, brother?
Hexican lost in Asia, saw that we deleted his stuff and wanted to reassure us that he's still here.
Aloha, Hexican.
He's not
Tam
lost.
Tam stopped by. She said, "What's up, fam?" And then she's got a whole bunch of other great comments in there.
Absolutely.
And then Nate was talking about the being an expert on something part. He said, "Master license with many years of experience. Trust me, you need this rodent plan." Agent J also talking about the expert part. You can fool some of the people all the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time. Very, very
Excellent.
good quote there.
Excellent one.
And then in regards to this current subject, I wanted to bring these ones up. They're all from Jay. Thank you, Jay.
This was a very good one from Jay.
Yes, this I definitely agree with. Whether it makes a psychological difference or a self-psyop, if I get the outcome I want, it usually doesn't matter. And she's completely right. That's why even if it is just a Band-Aid effect for you, if you're getting to where you need to be, it's still technically working. And then old saying, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're correct. That kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the motivation thing. Because, and well, this one also mentions motivation is certainly real, but it's a finite resource, which is probably a better way to say what I was trying to get at, that motivation depends on you. If you don't believe you can do something, you're probably not going to do it. You have to have that going on in your own head in order to make things happen.
Absolutely. Good comments from everybody. By the way, Moonpill Rational Optics, you still hold the title of the first and only person that has been banned and unbanned. We didn't ban Hexican Lost in Asia, but we accidentally deleted the first comment of the stream. So
Yeah, Moonpill, you
The-
missed it when we
Yeah,
first
we
started
rubbed-
up. My screen was being a pain in the butt, and I accidentally deleted his comment instead of highlighting it, and then I muted poor Zenith too. So now tonight I'm the one rugging people. Sorry, guys.
I encourage
I-
you guys to start your own channel of people who have been banned and booted and unfairly kicked off of the DJ. You guys don't boycott us because we love
That's
you. But
I've
that's
been
being
rugged by the
inside
DJ
the
round table.
that's being inside the DGen Roundtable Soulstone.
Yep.
You've been snapped away
we have
by
absorbed.
all the misclicks. You got
Yes.
misclicked away.
All right, Zenith, take us to the next portion of the show, my brother.
All right, let's talk about some sales, baby, or rather ethics of sales. I thought it was kind of interesting in the book is that Jordan Belfort actually talks about his newfound morality in ethical salesmanship, which is that part of being an ethical salesman is understanding that you're not trying to abuse people, you're not trying to abuse their emotions, and you're not trying to sell things that you don't believe in, aka scams, or what I would just argue is the shit coins of real life. And that's part of being ethical. The other half of being ethical, I think, comes from something that our own, the ascending man, Mr. Nate McGettit, talks about a lot, which is the Minnesota nice, the fake nice, the I pretend to care about you, but I'm going to talk shit behind your back.
Oh yeah.
I think this is one of those things where it's like salespeople kind of get a very bad rep because people believe that salesmen are only trying to use them. And one of the things that this book talks about is you need to use tonality to convey that you actually care about emotions. You're actually trying to connect with people. So my question for the panel here is if you're using sales tactics or salesmanship, so to speak, to try to connect with people, are you actually using people, or are you just trying to create a mutually beneficial exchange of value? Like where is the line? Is there a difference? What's your guys' kind of like philosophy on this?
They don't have to be separate. You can be using people and also benefiting them, right? Like if I will and this kind of like boils down to the formula, like the mathematical formula of human interaction, right? I saw this dude post on Instagram once that he is autistic and he doesn't know how to have like friendships because of like social rules. So what he did is he created an Excel spreadsheet where he puts friends in different like category tiers, like, hey, this friend, I have to text them once every 3 days. This friend, I have to call them once a month. This friend, I have to visit them, at this Y and Z like time period, right? And I'm willing to bet you that his friendships with these people are much better than most people's friendships with most other people, like because he's organized it and he's turned it into a formula. Now, to apply that to your question, yes, you can absolutely be using people and benefiting them at the same time, right? So we'll take friendship for instance, right? When we're friends with people, we enjoy their company, we enjoy their feedback, we enjoy doing things with them, we just enjoy, like, we extract value out of the relationship, right? We are getting fun, we are getting memories, we are getting companionship, we're getting all these things out of it. And the important thing to remember, like when you're like quote unquote using people, is to make the level of acceptability is whether or not the other person on the other end of the spectrum is benefiting from their perspective, not from yours, from their perspective, right? So like if if you're hanging out with someone and you're having fun, but like you never do the things that they want to do, and you never like like call them or text, like whatever the thing is that they value, if you never do that thing for them, then they're going to be like, hey, I'm operating at a deficit right here, right? You can think of it as almost like a ledger that's got a balance, so to say. Like if we're always doing the thing that I want to do and never doing the thing that you want to do, then the ledger's going to be like crazy imbalanced. If we're always doing the thing that you want to do and never doing the thing that I want to do, it's going to be imbalanced. And if I'm always finding things to do that you like and you're always finding things to do that I like, then we're both trying to make the other person benefit more than ourselves. And that's when like, and like you could like it also like you could, this is it's a very objectivist point of view. It's very Ayn Randian. For those of you who have read Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged or anything like that, Ayn Rand is very very I subscribe to her line of thinking, where it's like you have to take care of yourself first, and in so doing, like, build the relationships with other people. But like you're the primary point, you're doing all the selfish stuff, but like there has to be like considerations for other people as well. So like I'm personally of the opinion that it's totally fine to use other people if they benefit from their own perspective. It's kind of like it's not
A
exactly the same word.
symbiotic relationship, basically.
Yeah, a symbiotic relationship, exactly, right? So like
Beautiful.
you could do it with pure intentions, you could do it with malicious intentions. Like it doesn't matter what the intentions are if the result is positive experience, right? So like if I really hated everybody on this panel and I wanted to kill you guys by feeding you delicious food that's healthy for you and making you live a long life, and then like eventually dying of oxidization from like breathing too much oxygen over the span of your lifetime, and I just really hated you, and so like I just sneakily plotted to make sure that you guys like had a wonderful experience all the way, so that way I could, like, make sure that you die in the end. Like, it doesn't matter what my motivations are if you have a fantastic life and a fantastic time. And likewise in the opposite direction, it doesn't matter if you have pure intentions if you make the world a worse place. Like, we'll take Adolf Hitler for example. He wanted to make Germany great. He wanted to bring about industrialization, and he wanted to get rid of the people that he considered were his enemies. Now, what was the result of that? Whole bunch of people died. Whole bunch of people like got into war. There was just like the world was like distraught, right? He probably had honest or like good intentions or whatever, because most people think that they're the good guys, right? That's just the nature of existing. So like it's equally bad, or it's equally irrelevant, like what your ambitions, or not your ambitions, what your motivations are, if they're incongruous to what the outcomes are. Doesn't matter the motivation. The only thing that matters is the results. And the
Fair
moment that
enough.
something does start mattering is when the results start changing. So to answer your question, Zenith, on my long tirade, the answer is maybe. There's fucking nuance to it, but you
That's a
have to
long
be a
maybe,
good person.
brother.
You just got to be a
Fair
good
enough.
person.
Real quick, Mrs. Producer, can we pull up the comment from our own Agent J there?
No, not yet. I wanted to mention
Oh.
the Full Metal Alchemist reference.
I like that.
Ah.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you were going to pull
I was
up.
gonna say shout out to all of our fellow weebs out there. Jay,
I love that show. Full
Jay's
Metal
pulling up
Alchemist
a
was
great
one of my
one
first
here.
ones.
I will fully admit I have not watched this one. It's still on the to-do list.
You are a terrible human being. I'm kidding.
It's a good
Hey,
principle,
whoa.
though. it's a good
Yes,
principle.
it's a great principle too, but it's just they say that on the show so often.
Yeah,
So.
it's fantastic. I love that they wove that into the story. Perfect. You have to
Alrighty,
go
this
to the
is
gym and
producer
sweat
Sam.
to get the muscles. You can't just inject them.
I want to add something on top of everything Will just said, and that the presumption about this whole like, are you manipulating people to get them to buy something? It's like you're presuming that every single person doesn't have their own agency and responsibility for making their own darn decisions.
Yep.
Right. So if I am able to manipulate you into buying a vacuum that you don't need, and I get money from the sale, like, is that ethical? I don't know. But like,
You bought the vacuum.
you bought
Right.
it. So
But I needed a
you're
vacuum, so-
responsible.
Exactly.
Then you won, right? So
Yeah. If a person is able to be manipulated, then that just means that like they don't have like their own constitution. They're not a sovereign individual. They're a slave. And you shouldn't take advantage of people that are slaves. But at the same time, you also shouldn't take people's sovereignty away, you know, under the guise of like, oh, I must protect them from themselves because they suck at making decisions when it comes to buying vacuums and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I agree.
They are
with you.
not a vacuum expert.
This is true. I'll fully admit this is one of those points in the books that it might be a bit of like salesmanship on the book's perspective, which is that this selling method is going to be so good you're going to be able to override people's free will. Like, no, I don't think you're ever going to truly be able to do that without coercion or force. So this is kind of a, in my opinion, one of the flaws of modern politics is that they try to take agency away from people. And it's honestly a good way in my mind to start off relationships with a point of mutual respect is that you understand and you treat the other person that they have their own agency, desire, will, goals, motivations, the whole 9 yards, just as you do. You are not on some higher plane of thinking than they are. We are all just operating on the same playing field here. So yeah, I'm not going to try to, at the same time, like I understand it's partly beneficial for me to try not to sell a vacuum to someone who doesn't need a vacuum. Because at the end of the day, I'm kind of just spending way more energy than I need to get a sale that may or may not happen. And if anything, this is one of the things he talks about when talking about prospects, which is that you want to make sure you're not talking to the people that accidentally ended up in your sales funnel and they're like, oh, I thought this was something else. Like you just say, oh, cool. Yeah, no, this is what I do. This probably isn't what you were looking for, but like, have a good one. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I wanted to say, when it comes to this topic, I very much agree with the being an ethical salesperson, salesman, saleswoman, whatever you want to call it. Because kind of going back to an example that Will used about the symbiotic relationships where whales will have, you know, parasites attached to them that technically eat the like dirt that gets attached to the whale, and they're a parasite, but they're symbiotic because they're helping the whale. And therefore they get to just remain there. And one saying that I've heard is that a parasite that kills the host is a bad parasite. You don't want to kill your host. You want to be able to live on that thing for as long as possible. And if it's dead, you don't get to be there anymore because eventually it decays away to nothing. So you need to be very careful and very aware of that type of thing. Because if you're selling stuff and you're manipulating people into buying that stuff and they don't need that stuff, you can't go back to that person. You can't sell somebody volcano insurance in a place where there are no volcanoes and then come back and try to sell them flood insurance. They're not going to fall for it. They're not going to believe you anymore. So that goes back to that symbiosis. You need that balance. And this happens a lot in the communities that I'm in on Facebook, where people are selling their collectibles. They're selling trading cards. This is near mint. This is quality. This is what you can expect. They sell somebody the thing. They send them some pictures that are not the greatest. You can't really tell what's going on. And then when they get the product, they're like, this is not what you told me it would be. This is not near mint. This is, moderately played. It's got damage, even worse. Guess what? You're never going to be able to converse with that person again. You're never going to make that sale again. And if they go ahead and make a complaint about you, you're going to lose a lot of other potential sales too. You got to have some kind of balance there. And also what Will was saying about manipulating people to technically benefit both of you is a very, very good point, because I can't remember where I heard it, but there is some source that I've read that says that in anything that you do, everything that you give or you do for other people, you are also gaining. For some, it may be, I like to help people. That gives me a good feeling. And you also helped the person with whatever they needed. So in everything that you do and every interaction that you make, you're technically also gaining from it. It's never that people can do things just completely selflessly, because there's always some element of selfishness, even if it's really small, even if the only thing that you're getting from it is that you get a good feeling from helping other people. It's still, you're still gaining something in that respect, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. So personally, this is one of the questions that I think that I have a tendency to overthink a lot of things, and then it kind of feels one of those like infinite rabbit holes where you start edging ever closer and closer to the area that you thought you were not initially in, which is like I start dissecting like what is manipulation. Like if I get anything out of you, is that manipulation? And then it's like, do I ever not manipulate anybody? Is it worth talking to anybody who's not my friend or family? Like at a certain point, you just got to like cut the line off and be like, no, I'm going to operate the way that I operate best. I'm not going to just perform outright frauds. I'm going to operate with a sense of integrity and ethics. I'm not lying to people. I'm not scamming people. I'm not telling people things aren't the way they are. I'm not damaging things before I send it off, that kind of stuff. And in my mind, at the end of the day, you just got to understand that, like, yes, I am only, this might be a very libertarian philosophy, which is that I only care about or am responsible to my family first, my God, my country, and then the other people I let into my life, my friends. Not in that particular order. I got that wrong. It's God, family, country. There you go. But it's the idea that everything outside of that is, yes, I'm trying to build a mutually beneficial exchange. Sales is a very easy example because you're trying to get someone to fork over their money or their time or energy, all of which can effectively be interchangeable, because what is money but a representation of time and energy? In exchange, you're giving them a good or a service that you think is going to benefit them the same amount of money that they effectively paid you. So that's what I got with that.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
that's
at least try to tell myself. So
one thing I wanted to add to that is this is even more important because we've all heard those stories, whether they be true or not, of shady salesmen going around knocking door to door and trying to get you to buy volcano insurance. I'll use the same one I used earlier. In today's world, this is even more prevalent because you can't get away with that anymore with the power of the internet under at the people's fingertips the way it is nowadays. Everybody has the power of the internet. There's tons and tons of spaces out there where people can go and leave reviews. They can add your company in if it's not already there, and it won't do you well in the end. In the end, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
fair enough. I like it. Alrighty, with that said, I would like to advance us to our final topic, but the one that I am most excited about, which is I want to try to use this book and the straight line sailing method to analyze and possibly improve the way that we try to get people into the crypto sphere. So I say that historically crypto has been a very bad sales pitch because it's just a lot of people on the internet shouting and yelling, hey, buy my coin. If you don't, you're poor. And they never take into account
The way you said poor.
the pores.
That was good. What was it we were talking about earlier? Intonation, tonality, whatever, something like
Tonality, there you go.
Right.
The raspy vocal fry to really get the point across.
that. Ooh.
My point is that I think the traditional approach to just mass marketing on social media has been very lowbrow, low effort. I'm just going to make this thing and just tell you it's the best without actually understanding who you are, what your needs are, what you're looking for. And I think that a very easy way to do that is to just like think about, okay, who are they? What are their goals? What do they want? What I mean by that is typically people in this space, if you're either looking for a get rich quick scheme, then this is where we should probably apply some of the ethics, which is like, look, this is not for you. This is not what it is. Because now we're starting to delve into the realm of fraud and rug pulls. And then after that, it's okay. Once we've gotten all the scam artists and all the people just trying to turn a quick buck, now we can actually get to the salesmanship. So panel, in your opinion, what are some of the tactics or strategies that we can use from this method to pitch cryptocurrency investment to people better?
I think the first thing that should be done is starting with the pokey stick when you meet
Pokey
people.
stick. Okay.
Yep. You walk up to them and, you're wearing a Hex shirt and they say, what's that symbol on your shirt? And you say, aha, and you stick them right in the eye.
Sam, how is that going to make anybody buy anything? Now they're blind. What's wrong with you?
I'm gonna practice my stabbing.
Now they have to pay for eye surgery, so they need a way to pay for it. So they should probably invest to get the gains to buy their eyeball back.
Yes. So and here's the easy part is that now you know their the selling pain point to hit.
Yeah, your eye's broken. Here, buy crypto.
Pun intended. Their selling point. Gotcha, bitch. What was your question, Zenith? How do we implement stuff to sell better in crypto?
Yeah, I think we need to make a better pitch for crypto investment as a whole. How do we do it? Can we apply this method to do so?
Get in first before everyone else figures it out and they make more money than you. So like
Is that the urgency play?
You have to start with fear because we have to sell based off of emotion, right? If you wait till it's green candles and it's buy time, then they're going to turn into a hater of cryptocurrency and not a lover of cryptocurrency. So you have to get them to ride an emotional roller coaster. It's really one of those things that I think that only the cream of the crop end up finding. You know, it's like you can't like if I were to tell you, hey, do push-ups until your muscles break in your arms, you're probably not going to do it, you know. And if you do it and then you become stronger or something, like, I don't know where I'm going with this analogy. It's difficult to get people I'm just going to cut it off. It's difficult to get people to do a thing that is good when they don't understand it. And like truthfully, I don't really understand crypto either. I just know that it works and I'm making a money, which is cool. So like you either got to sell them on the hopes or you got to say like, hey, you suck and you're poor and you're going to be that way forever. Right. I think that we could all take a lesson or two from good old Ricardo Corazon, Richard Hart. And like, he's got the ideas of how to sell concepts down pretty good in his book Sci-Vive, which I still suggest that we should cover at some point on book club. Who knows when we'll do it, but like
we will.
It's on the docket, right? So some of the things that he talks about in that book is like how to get ideas into people's heads. And so like the problem with crypto is that like if people don't want, like you can only sell things to interested buyers. So what you have to do really is and this is something he talks about in the book too, Jordan Belfort, like in the Wolf book, is he talks about like you have to sort out your customers. There's the part in there where he talks about like, hey, sell me this pen, right? And the kid like tries the novice salesman tries to like really get him to like buy the pen thing, and Jordan's like, I don't give a shit about this pen, like blah-de-da. And then his friend Danny walks in and he says, hey Danny, sell me this pen. And then what Danny does is like, oh, well, how long have you been in the market for pens? Tell me about it. And then Jordan says like, oh, I'm not really in the market for pens. And then Danny's like, okay, well, keep your stupid fucking pen then. And then he looks at the new kid and he's like, I only sell things to people who want to buy them. And it's like, once you can figure out, like, you basically have to find the people who want the information. You can't just go about proselytizing crypto to everybody. You got to figure out who are your incentivized buyers. Who's going to be the people that are most receptive to the information that you can give them, and then just like give them honest information from that point. So like, I don't really think, Zenith, that the question is how do we better sell crypto? It's how do we find the people that want to buy crypto and how can we help them? That's I think
that's a great point, actually.
Yeah. Sorry to turn this around on you, host.
No, the
co-host is steering this train for a little bit.
There's plenty of ways to tackle this one. I was gonna say,
well, I don't think you really steer a train; they just go on the track.
I was hoping somebody would pick up on that. Thank you, guys.
All right, Mrs. Producer, any thoughts on how to make a better pitch?
Yeah, what Will said was fantastic. I actually really like that. But one thing I wanted to mention here is this from Fast Abdul. He's got a very good point here.
This is a great point.
Mm-hmm. And I want to bring that up because to me, the first thing that popped into my head when you said, how can we do this better? And I'm not sure where this happened, but I know it happened. I heard the story. It was in the news, big deal. But those people who had their assets frozen in their banks and they couldn't take out their money anymore, for me, that is the perfect example as to why you should be buying crypto. Because you have more control. It's decentralized. You're not putting something in a bank where people can just literally decide to take it over and take it away from you when they want. And it gives you way more freedom in that sense. So to me, that would be the biggest selling point. I would mention that. I would mention how much crypto has the potential, to continue rising, especially because it's still so small right now. And then also I would try and really, really drive home the point that the decentralization is going to be so beneficial in our futures, just to have some of your control back and to not be so much of, kind of like a sleeping target at that point for when or if things do, go downhill.
That makes sense. I got to say, Fast Abdul has a really good point here with, I want to make sure I get this right, which is that fear of loss is greater than need for gain. I was going to say, arguably, I think there's a good pitch for crypto investment on either side of this coin. The first one might be a little more topical, which is that if you specifically look over the last few years, inflation has been rampant and the stock market has not been performing up to snuff. That's a great reason to say that, look, your traditional investments are not working the way you thought, and your money is not maintaining the value that I thought it was going to maintain. Therefore, this might be a good alternative to at least partly invest in to make sure that you are trying to curb your losses here or even make some gains out of it. On top of, now to transition to the other half of the argument, which is that the need for gain, this is where you can, like Will talks about, is try to identify the people that are actually looking for investments on their own. They're not just people that are trying to hedge their bets or curb their losses when it comes to inflation and monetary spending or their traditional investments not working. It was people that are actively looking to maybe be a little more risk-taking or invest in something new, and they're willing to do the legwork and the research to learn about the thing that there's not a whole lot of information about. Then once you identify those people, you can make the pitch that say, look, this is new. If you've ever wanted to be early, good chances are you're early here. If you look at these charts, these are some of the best performing charts you're ever going to find. Understand, there is also a bit of downside risk with it. However, this is possible to mitigate if you know what you're doing. Here are the working theories that we got. Here may be a strategy or two that you can implement. Again, at the same time, though, understand that you are the one pushing the green and the red button here. You are the one buying and selling. But I'm just saying, this is the stuff that's worked for a lot of us. Here are some great testimonials of people that have been big winners or even just made some small gains here and there to beat out inflation in that 10 and beat the 10% of the alleged 10% of the stock market. Here's how you do it. Let me show you how you can get into the system.
I think that sounds great.
Zinga.
I know I might be a broken record on this one, but I also do like the Hex example, which is that it's cryptocurrency investment in general can absolutely be a bit abstract, but I really like Hex because it's that good one-for-one correlation. It's not a perfect one-for-one correlation, but saying that Hex is a certificate of deposit, which is something you've probably already touched before. Now just imagine that, but better in different ways. That's where you can get into this space. So that's one of the pitches that I like to throw at people.
A certificate of deposit you make with yourself using tools that are available to you forever as long as the internet exists. Also, I think I kind of want to touch on your concern there a minute ago, not to be a broken record. Bro, we have to be broken records. We have to say the same thing over and over again. Think about, let's take a look. How many people are watching us right now? There are 17 people watching us right now, right? So like, let's say someone misses this stream, but they catch the next stream and we say the same thing in both, right? Then they'll hear it one time. But if you say the same thing over and over and over again, you develop a consistent message and you always say the same thing, then people are going to pick up on it. It's going to drive home. They're going to like hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Think about how many times you've listened to the same song, or you've listened to, or you've rewatched the same like movie. Like, people like repetition, and it also helps them like learn the really important things in life. So if you repeat the good stuff, it's fantastic. So keep being a broken record, bro. It's good shit. We love it.
I wanted to add in or read the same book.
Oh yeah, or read the same book. Yeah, listen to the same book, read the same book, inject the same book straight into those veins. Absorb the message over and over and over again, as many times as is necessary. And like, the more that your neural pathways, like think of your brain as like a forest, the more times that you walk on the path of any one particular thought or understanding or learning of something, the more like deeply ingrained that path is going to be in the woods whenever you're traveling through, and you can zip down it real quick when you're trying to find something or you're trying to remember something. So just some stuff to repetition is part of learning. Absolutely, Hex Glenn. It's good to see you in here, brother. Hell yeah.
Definitely. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the movie watch the second time around, because that's when I start to see things that directors and writers put into scripts or scenes that totally just kind of go over your head the first time. But because you know who the characters are and what's going to happen the second time, when you do get that second watch, you almost get just extra value that you didn't get the first time, because you get those small things. You see the foreshadowing, you understand, or you can even like be like, oh, this person's supposed to be this archetype. That's kind of like a classical literature thing. That's where you start making those big brain plays.
That's one thing that I don't totally agree with you on. I wanted to mention that myself. If you can watch a movie multiple times and you gain something new from it every time, that's how you know it's a good movie. So that's my philosophy anyways.
Excellent. By the way, we do also have a community pitch from Fast Abdul. He says, are you worried about inflation? Worried the government will take your money? Crypto is the answer, or maybe joining some sort of militia. ...
I've got el porque no los dos. Why not both, amigos? Do both. Get yourself some crypto and learn how to defend yourself. Learn how to defend yourself from tyrannical governments. And
learn
possibly
to be the rifleman, the infantryman.
Exactly. Hang out with some other people.
Sorry.
Just be careful, because you might get put on a list, and then they might
hang out with other people,
and then you'll have to go on a boating trip.
Hang out with other people. Don't get put on a list, please. I wanted to bring up Kai's comment here really quick. Sorry. The art of repeating things without losing the attention of others. That is such a huge deal.
Boom.
Yep, Kai says he's a, quote, I'm a Sami humper.
Oh, Jesus Christ, bro.
Well, I wasn't gonna highlight
should have
that
picked
one,
better words for that. 10,000 hours of jujitsu. I like Sami just as much as the next person. Sami's a fantastic teacher. He's one of my favorite crypto influencers who I'm always happy to listen to absorb new information he's got.
He goes so quick. That's actually a really good point. Sami would be one of those people that would fall into my movie analogy, where you got to watch him like 3 or 4 times to really grasp what he's talking about sometimes.
Oh yeah.
He moves so fast. He talks really fast and gets through his points really quick. He's got great information though, like totally worth it.
Oh snap! Kai is a member of Friend Tech. Hello, Kai. We both own Sami keys on Friend Tech. You're absolutely right. I do have a key from Sami with Friend Tech. That I if anyone needs a Friend Tech invite, hit me up in the Telegram chats. And I've got a couple Friend Tech invites. It's not the same as a key, but you need to be invited from other people who are already in Friend Tech in order to get into Friend Tech. Thank you for reminding me that, Kai, by the way. I appreciate that. But yes, absolutely. Kai is correct.
Kai's a Sami humper.
I'm not focusing on that statement. I'm saying that Sami is a good person, and it's good to focus on good people and to absorb quality knowledge. So yeah, hit up either Kai or myself. Kai, put your socials in the links below, because I don't know if anyone has any sort of way to just hit people up via YouTube. That's one of the annoying things on YouTube, is you can't like send messages to other like YouTube watchers or things. I think that's, unless I'm just super duper ignorant and don't know how to do that. But like
you can pretty much drop a comment in any video and that'll notify somebody usually.
Yeah, and YouTube actually does have a community feature that's a little bit like a forum, and if we were to, we could use that, and then people could comment on that. But it would be the same thing as what Sam is describing. We just get an alert. It's not like private messaging. It would all be just right out in the public. So
yeah. So hit up Kai or hit up myself if you guys need to get into Friend Tech. So there you go.
Absolutely. On top of that, go confirm your friendship by hitting the subscribe button on Sami's YouTube channel. And if you ever see him in real life, buy that man an orange juice with 3 ice cubes in it. No more, no less. Alrighty, I'm going to try to land the plane real quick. So starting at the top, theoretically, all the sales could be the same, especially in the crypto space. The idea is that we're just trying to get people in who are interested in personal investment and trying to get some gains. So straight line selling, love the product. I think we have a fantastic product, and we can emphasize this through decentralization, through the charts, and through the actual use cases that exist for all the different cryptocurrencies out there that can suit your needs. Next up, trust the brand. This one's a bit abstract, but I think that if you have a channel like ours with DGen Roundtable, we want to build the best brand or the best community so that when you do buy into a project, you trust that you are surrounded by like-minded people who are all working towards the same goal. We're not trying to rug pull each other. We are all trying to build a quality project. And then lastly, third, for the 10s, we have build trust and connections with you. This is where you can do the outreach, like, I don't know, go into, what's the burger and beer place, Will?
Jake's Burgers and Beer.
Go to Jake's Burgers and Beer, meet some Hexkins, hang out, ask some questions, and build those connections with people so they trust, again, that the brand and the community are all in the same place. Again, uncertainty threshold. Try to do a little bit of education. Maybe that's what we do here, talking about books or actually talking about projects with founders. And then lastly, pain threshold. This is where we can talk about Fast Abdul's point, which is that the fear of missing out is one way to put it, or the fear of pain is sometimes the best way to sell. Make people understand that, look, this might not be here forever. I mean, not the projects, but how early you are and how low the prices are right now might not be here forever. So before you experience that pain, hop in. I do have to say, I think the first 4 seconds is an important point. I think having a good outward brand and having a great landing page for people to find what they're looking for and just give your pitch of who you are and what you're about, I think it's very important. Tonality, again, I think one of the benefits of having all of us at the DGen Roundtable is that if you don't connect with me or Will or Sam or Mrs. Producer, we still have another stable of hosts, and I bet one of them is going to speak the language that you understand. Then lastly, prospects. I think Will mentioned it. Will had a really good point with this one, which is that we got to understand who we're selling to, and not everyone's going to buy, and that's okay. So with that said, actually I have one more. Looping. The idea of we just got to keep talking about it. Again, like Will said, we are going to sound like a broken record, but that's because we're just trying to put out the good information out there consistently. Excellent. Did I miss anything? Is there a way to improve the pitch, my lovely panel?
I would at least bring up my point about those banks being able to freeze your money whenever they wish. Add that to like the fear section that you mentioned. Instead of just a fear of missing out.
For sure. And then again, Fast Abdul came in and he's reminding me of the most important step, which is that once you make your pitch and you lay out all the arguments, you just got to ask for the sale, and you kind of just got to shut up. Stop hounding people, stop trying to shove it down their throat. Make the pitch, make it the best you can, and then genuinely wait for their answer. And if they say yes, perfect. Glad to have them.
I think there should be like one more edge to that, and that's that a lot of people don't realize that most of the world runs on money games, and they're just part of the game. And so with crypto, you can basically get ahead of the people that are playing the money games. That is like you can front run them, right? So, not necessarily because you know what they're going to be doing, but because you understand the past and how things work and new coins and this, that, and the other thing. So, if I would say most people don't really understand that they're just part of the game because they're just like they have other things to worry about, like football and whatever. But I would say that's an edge. If people realize, then that could be a pain point, right? People realize that, oh wow, I'm just a little plebe in this thing, and if I'm going to make it, I need to learn how to basically get in front of the other guys.
Sounds good. Alrighty. Do we have any final comments before we start closing the show out?
Nothing here.
Good. I guess I will finish off the actual talking segments with this. Fast Abdul, again, coming in, talking about the pitch. He says, make the pitch, and if they say no, qualify and overcome objections, and ask for it again. I will reiterate, we're not trying to shove things down people's throats. However, at the same time, understand what their points are, understand why they're saying it, and do your best to overcome those objections and build the confidence in either the product, yourself, or the brand. Excellent.
I got one thing.
Do it.
Like the video, everybody. It's time to like the video. There's 2 likes. There's 17 watchers. This is one of those things that like people forget about, and it's like, oh snap, we gotta be
No,
reminded.
Will, yours isn't reloaded. We got 18 likes. We good.
Oh, we got 18. Oh, nice. That's excellent. Okay, well, never mind, everyone. Don't like the video. Screw you guys. Get out of here.
Okay,
Go
let's
on now.
not go that far.
I'll just play it.
Excellent job, everybody.
Hey,
Thank you all
I
so
am-
much for showing up. We appreciate your time. And with that said, we're going to pass the mic over to Sam. Sam, where can people find you? And any final thoughts on the book? Where does this fall in the hierarchy of books for you?
I will say, I don't know about the hierarchy, but of all of the books that I have re-listened to on Audible, this one happened probably the most. I listened to this one about maybe 10 to 15 times to extract the sale process out of it and create a script for myself. So this is a very important one to me, because like sales is just, everybody should know sales, because you're going to be selling yourself in some regard to everybody pretty much for the rest of your life. So, you should know something about it. So I'd say this is a very important one. And not only is it important because you learn about sales, but it's like really broad and really specific at the same time. And you don't have to take everything out of the book, but if you learn one thing about the book, like, then you're already better off. So yeah, 10 out of 10 recommend. But people can find me on the internet with Bungalows for Bachelors. If you go to the YouTube Bungalows for Bachelors, or if you go to my school server where I've got some courses, the home design program or the framing design program, you can check out some stuff. I've got a little server, a little community, some guys, and we build stuff, and you can be part of the community. But you go to https://www.skool.com/BFB success. That's the school server. There's a little intro video if you want a little more information about what it is that I'm doing here. But that's what I got going on. Or you can check out BFB Success on Instagram. Or if you just want to look at free stuff on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel as well. And every Thursday, I do a live stream where I break down something weird and nerdy about a house and talk about it in a little bit of engineering terms for you guys and help educate. So check me out there. That's where you can find me.
Perfect. I can confirm it's a good time, and you always learn something new or interesting when it comes to construction. That world is so massive, and I can tell you this guy does a good job of breaking down concepts and making it relevant to everybody. Alrighty, Mrs. Producer, is there anything you would like to shout out? And where does this book fall in the library for you?
Well, like I had said earlier, I actually didn't get to finish it, so I'm thinking
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to give it a re-listen. I'm a little late to the party, but I just got Pokemon Legends Arceus and I've been obsessed with it. And so I think what I want to do is just next time I have time to play, just slap this on and listen while I play. I think that would be, perfect way to kind of do that. The only thing I really wanted to say is thank you so much to everybody in the chat. The chat has been fantastic tonight. It's been great seeing you guys here, having all these great comments to help, even boost what we've been talking about. So really appreciate that. As for me and the socials, I'm just really here. Don't really have anything else going on. But yeah, I'll be here for the book clubs and maybe some of the regular shows, and I'm usually in the background producing for all of you wonderful guys. So yeah, that's about it for me. Oh, and final thoughts on the book. Other than I want to listen to it again, I did really like it. I mean, he's it related to me quite a bit to how to win friends and influence people. He seems really like genuine, and he's telling you to manipulate people, but without actually manipulating people. It's a similar sort of idea between these two books. So that definitely resonated with me. He's not telling you to manipulate people, but people could take it that way, and then it could go one way or the other, if you're not really watching that. So definitely think it's a good read, worth picking up.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. All right, Mr. Co-host.
All right, so for the folks at home, get ready for a link storm. I've got all these tabs opened up and I'm ready to roll. All right, so if you guys want to find me somewhere, anywhere, you can go to linktree/Will Stevenson. That is my link tree. That will give you all of the things that I've worked on, all of the podcasts that I'm a part of, whether it's the podcast that I have with my brother here, the Brothers Two of Them podcast, whether it's the DGen Roundtable right here that you're listening to now. It also has in there some of the work that I've done, whether it's the t.me/Hex Meetup, which is the Telegram room that I created that will allow people to essentially, if you're a Hexagon, you can go and meet other Hexicans and basically start your own meetups. That's where I met Tam. That's where I met Hex Cells. I met Moondog. Just a whole bunch of super cool Hexicans. And I've only done one, right? I've only organized one meetup so far, but people can organize their own meetups. It's essentially like the elevator pitch is, if you're a Hexican, you want to meet other Hexicans, you just find a tab that is the location of like closest to you, and you look at other people in there, or you type out like, hey, I'm doing this cool thing over here, over there, and then other people can jump on the thing that you're doing, or you can jump on the thing that other people are doing. Yeah, it's just like Hex Tinder. Thank you, Fast Abdul. It's Hex Tinder for boys and girls. This is awesome, except there's no like, it's Telegram, so whatever your profile picture is whatever they get. And yeah. The next thing I'm going to drop into the chat is a link for, oh man, that is a long link. Hang on, let me make that a little bit smaller there. Okay, so this is a link for a trampoline. So you guys can go get trampolines, so that way you can jump up and down and be happy. I don't know if I shortened the link enough, but anyways, go buy a trampoline, and then whenever you're sad or whenever you're happy, go jump up and down on that trampoline. The final link that I'm going to share is dang it, it didn't save it as a bit.ly link. I was hoping it would, but the final link is a bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. That will take you to our Telegram chat, which will allow you to be alongside all these other fantastic degens. You can either scan the QR code that is right there, or you can follow this link, or you can type in your own URL, bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. That'll bring you into the Telegram. The Telegram is free for now. The Telegram will not always be free, no matter how much I protest. But this is just part of becoming, I guess, just growing in the bull market space. Eventually, there's going to be too many people joining, and it's going to be too fast, and we have to put some sort of gatekeeping thing on it. Anyways, I'm not here to tell you why we're doing it. I'm just here to tell you that it's going to eventually happen. So get into the Telegram room. You can chat with Fast Abdul in there. He has lots of secrets and many bribes. Go talk to Fast Abdul about bribes. He will love that. So, again, you guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. Like, comment, subscribe, bitch, moan, complain. Have a nice day. Have a great day. Tell everyone that you love them. And Z, go ahead and take us out, bro.
I was gonna say, Will, in the library, where does this book fall for you?
Oh, in the library, where does it fall? Oh, this is a must. If you ever, yeah, this is a must. So like, in between the shelves of must and must not, this is in the must, right? And I don't waste my time with must nots. So that's basically all the books that we're going to be covering on the DGen Roundtable are going to be all in the must category. Otherwise, I would not be here. So the simple answer is, like, whether you're selling someone something for money, or whether you're talking to another human being in life, or whether you ever see another person ever at all, you need to learn sales. You need to learn how to understand other people, and you need to learn how to get your point across in such a manner that it's palatable to other people. Right now, I am selling you, the audience, the idea of learning sales. Whether I'm doing a good job of it or not is completely irrelevant to the point that people need to learn sales in order to have positive interactions with other human beings and stuff in your life. You sell to your kids, you sell to your parents, you sell to your girlfriends, to your husbands, to like whatever, to your preacher. Anyone who's ever interacting with you, they're trying to sell you their experience, their thoughts in their head, their feelings, their thoughts. Billy, if you're interested in a pen, I'll sell you a pen. If you don't care about pens, then we're just going to move right along. You only deal with interested buyers. But this is definitely a must. People need to learn sales. So if my advice means anything to you, I would say read this book and learn how to be a better salesman. Now, Z, you're up.
Thank you. I was going to say, for anybody that is in the market for a pen, my personal favorite is the F301 Zebra. The ballpoints are good, and the gel points are also fantastic. It's a good stainless steel pen if you just want to, walk up to somebody and give them a good eye poke. They hold up, and they're pretty durable for that. There you go. Comedy comes in threes. He had the first two. I got the last one. Tam, I'm pretty close to calling this a top 5 book. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of good books that are fighting for those top 5 spots. And honestly, I'd say this is one of them. This might not be a sales book, but I would argue this is the persuasion book. This is the one where you understand that, hey, just like people in the sales funnel, not all of them are going to be able to be persuaded by your ideas. And guess what? That's okay. At the same time, if you want to...
Sorry, go ahead.
You say at the same time, though, if you do want to sell yourself, this is a good way to understand how to do that and how to connect with people on a level. Mrs. Producer, what do we have?
I just want to say Will's got some very sound advice over here. Don't listen to Will, friends. You'll die. You'll be dead. Will, did you mute yourself, I think? Will, you're muted.
The wheat, look at that. We do it live. The wheat will separate from the chaff. If you are not strong enough to fight wolves, then you will die. And that is that. I'm sorry to say.
So don't fight wolves unless you're strong enough to fight wolves.
If you're strong enough to fight wolves, then go fight wolves. If you want to live your whole life being scared of wolves, then hey, that's cool. I don't judge you. I do judge you, but I'm going to keep it to myself.
I love wolves
because I
very
said
much.
it and it's recorded on the internet forever.
I would be very happy to end my life by petting wolves and snuggling them, and that would be okay with me.
There you go.
Perfect. Fair enough. In no particular order, this is probably even a rough draft, Tam Tam. I'm going to have to go Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, Speed of Trust, Sovereign Individual, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, you retained my friendship. I was about to cut it off. We're not friends anymore if that's not in there.
I was going to say, like, it competes for those top 5 spots. Depending on who you are, Sovereign Individual might not be for you, in which case this one could probably slide in there. Anyways, that's what we have this evening for the stream. I am Zenith. You can find me on the Twitters, YouTubes, and Instagrams at Hexaco Space Force, or Hex Space Force on Twitter specifically. And then I also did a bit of a rebrand, or a personal launch, so to speak, which is that if you want to connect with me personally and not just the meme page that I run, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zenith DI. That stands for Zenith Digital Investments. So that is where you find me on there. Again, you get the real face, but you don't get the real name just yet, at least until I quit the day job when everything here goes to the moon. With that being said, if you want to have your book pitched for the next book club, put it in our Telegram chat. I will put it in a poll, or I'll buy it and I'll add it to the stack, and we will eventually get to it. This train is still going strong, and we're going to keep chugging along as much as we can. I do want to genuinely thank everyone for showing up. I really enjoy what we do here, and I'm thankful that everyone shows up and supports our crazy ideas like the book club and all the weird stuff that we pitch your way. Again, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we thank you for spending it with us. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, good night. We will see you next time.
In fact, we about to go up like.